So the term ethical, responsible, mindful, conscious traveler, I think in itself is just divisive and it's just hard to define because everyone might define it differently. Diving into this topic is just so intimidating because I don't want to get it wrong, I want to do the right thing, but there's just so many different points that you can make and then you can counterpoint it with something else. But I think I came down to the realization that there's always going to be opposing sides and both can be true at the same time. Just want to get that out of the way because the internet is so scary. So the main reason why I wanted to dive into this topic of mindful travel is because I myself plan to continue to travel, but as I've traveled, there's just moments where I find myself thinking, am I being that American tourist right now, There's just some regrets I have from the past, just things I've done that I didn't know was bad, or I'm like, oh, I should have thought about that for a second, or I should have researched on this, or whatever it is. And basically, I just want to be more mindful moving forward. And my hope is to be able to hear your experiences from the places that you're from, and we can all learn and grow alongside each other. First, I want to talk about the case against travel. Over-tourism. This is not a new concept, but some of the concerns over tourism today, the destruction of cultural sites and the environment, rises in the cost of living in the area that can lead to displacement of locals, and having tourist needs prioritized over the locals. Over-tourism happens because of low costs of planes, apparently, and I think it's also because we tend to seek the same experiences. So you might be thinking, is it best if we avoid these tourist destinations then? And I think sometimes yes, like the Japan Tourism Board is pushing people to visit smaller towns outside of Tokyo due to it being overcrowded. I think it's important to look at what that country is asking for at the moment, but that's not always the case either. Like sometimes we might romanticize a rural area, but then by you going there, you might have a negative impact there too if they're not ready for an influx of tourists. For me, when I was in Lombok, I was struggling with this whole thought. I wasn't sure if what I was doing was the right thing or not, because it's like, oh, it's developing super fast because there's a lot of surfers like me wanting to go and they're developing this town. And it seems like the locals are happy to have tourists and job opportunities, but at the same time, I don't know if that outweighs the negatives. And it's just something I didn't really think about before booking my flight. And then when I got there, I was like, oh, am I doing the right thing? I'm not sure. And the whole reason is because things like tourism leakage. This happens everywhere, I think, varying degrees, but it's not completely avoidable. Example of economic leakage in the tourism industry are like foreign-based tour operators, souvenirs produced outside of the host community that are being sold to tourists, and all the hotels, resorts, restaurants, and shops that aren't locally owned. All that money that the tourists are spending, it might be, not going back to the host community. It's just going back to wherever that company is. And when it comes to this whole case against travel, you can freaking go down the rabbit hole forever. Like CO2 emissions from flights, natural resources being used up by tourists, the culture of host communities being commodified and Disneyfied, tourist destinations becoming heavily reliant on the tourism industry, and there's just a lot of negatives that can happen, which is why it's I don't know if an ethical tourist can ever really exist. But I'm guessing you're here because like me, you want to continue to travel. Again, the reason why I'm starting this whole thing is so I can figure out if there is a way we can all travel more mindfully, even though we can't do it perfectly, just like a way to give back in some way, or to just be more conscious so you're not just going to travel for your own self-discovery and oh, I'm just here to live my life and explore. Okay, so if you're like me, this is the point of the video where you start to feel all the shame and guilt for all the negative ways that you impacted places traveling in the past. So obviously there's no one solution to this thing, but I don't think the solution is everyone stay home and don't ever travel. And no one's gonna listen to that. I just wanted to quickly share this quote. For a tourist to have truly minimal impact, she would have to walk to the destination, use no natural resources, and bring her own food that she grew and harvested. She would also have to carry along her own low-impact accommodation, like a tent, or stay in a place that is locally owned and uses alternative technologies and waste treatment. Of course, she would also leave the destination in no worse and perhaps in even better condition than she found it, and contribute funds to local environmental protection and community development. So it's overwhelming and almost impossible to do like every single time. But like we're trying to do here, I think it's important to just educate yourself, to be open to the fact that the world is constantly changing too, so be open to new information. And then I think everyone has the right to make their own choices with the information at hand. Okay, so to the fun part, just some steps that I plan on taking moving forward the next time I travel to somewhere. Number one, remember that you are a guest. So it's really important to remind yourself that you're visiting someone's home and you're going there with your own set of beliefs and your own reality and like this whole perspective from where you come from. And when you go to this place, it might be different. It will probably be different. And remember that like they have their own set of rules, their own set of social norms and everything, right? So yeah, just being mindful of that. And also, I think we might have preconceived ideas of a place, and to make sure that you're going there with an open mind and don't push those preconceived ideas onto other people. Just because you're visiting a place and maybe you're going because you want a very cultural experience, like they're not there to serve you and to mold into your expectations, you know? Educate yourself. This one feels so obvious, but I don't know if all of us do it. I don't always do it. Maybe to like a certain point I will, but I want to dive a little bit deeper. I think looking up societal, cultural norms and a little bit of history, like it's not that hard to look things up online nowadays. It should just be a common practice. But also knowing what you read on the internet might be different from what reality is when you arrive there. So on that topic, I think it's important to listen to the locals when you go there. If the local people are saying like, oh, what you're doing is inappropriate or whatever it is, then you should probably listen to them, right? One thing I want to start practicing is doing a bit of a social media algorithm reset before visiting a place. So that might be just looking for local guides, community leaders, cultural experts, just creators online from that place in hopes to get like a little bit of perspective and insight into the local culture. I've just been trying to do that here. Like as someone that lives in Hawaii, of course I follow local creators, but I've been trying to reset the algorithm a little bit more, trying to get more insight in my own community here. And I think that's like the best way to do it. I think when I was in Lombok too, I got recommended like this comedian personality guy who's from Bali, and it was just fun watching his videos because he like makes fun of tourists and stuff. I'm like, oh my god, he's making fun of people like me. And it's just like fun to get this local perspective, you know. Learn a little bit of language and culture. This is also something I regret not doing when I was in Indonesia. I think it's such an American thing to expect people to speak English. So embarrassing. I should have at least practiced like a few phrases, but I'm so shy sometimes. I'm like, oh, I don't want to get it wrong. And I think it also comes from like when I go to Japan, I'm really scared to speak Japanese sometimes because I am Japanese, but my Japanese isn't that good. It's a whole nother topic in itself. I want to connect, and speaking their language is one way to do that. Spend locally. Let's all try our best not to go to big chains when visiting a place. I know you want that Starbucks, but maybe try go to a local cafe. Support local restaurants, find souvenirs that are locally made, and if possible, seek locally owned tour operators and accommodations. I'm putting myself out here again, but when I was in Bali, I stayed at a resort, and at that time I couldn't really pinpoint where that guilt was coming from. It was a wedding gift and it was really nice to treat ourselves, but I was struggling between the thought of, well, the locals are getting this job opportunity, but also coming to the realization that this is an international chain resort and we're using up a lot of natural resources away from the local community, and maybe the money would have been better spent at a local accommodation instead. It's not always easy, it's not always the most convenient, and maybe you can't do it every time, but just something to note. Voluntourism and regenerative tourism. I think first it's important to try and look up to make sure it's legit and not exploitative, because that's possible too. I want to make a commitment to look at regenerative tourism opportunities when visiting a place. I think some places might push this more than other places. Like, I don't know if Japan really pushes regenerative tourism, but somewhere like Costa Rica, maybe they'll push ecotourism, regenerative tourism. And I don't think you have to dedicate your whole trip, but why not spend a day or afternoon volunteering and give back to the communities that you're visiting? For example, in Hawaii, you can volunteer at a lo'i when you visit here. Spend a day, an afternoon, and you can ask questions. You can actually physically give back to the land that you're visiting. I think it's a win-win. And lastly, I do have to mention like sustainability, right? It's like the main thing people think about when they say mindful tourism, I think. I think there's a lot of videos that touch on sustainability and ecotourism. So I'm just gonna note a few things, like flying direct instead of multiple flights, slow travel, like taking trains if you have time. If you're gonna do any wildlife experiences, make sure it's from an ethical business. I think the best bet is just seeing them in the wild and make sure they're not like feeding or chasing the animals. Those are just some of the ways I plan on moving forward traveling. And again, we can't be 100% ethical tourists, it doesn't exist. But found some examples on how countries are putting in regulations and policies related to the tourism industry and this whole topic, so I just wanted to share. Amsterdam is famous for their red light district, so this attracts a certain type of crowd. So they started to run campaigns aimed specifically to tourists that are there to party, aware of the negative impacts of their behavior. So apparently these campaigns will like target British men because I guess that they're the target audience, the people that go there to party. But they also got some backlash because they're like, you're discriminating against us. I also saw that they're planning to create a new red light district outside of like the main city center to push all the party tourists outside. And I think it's getting mixed reviews. Like some people support it, some people don't. And a place you might think about when you think about ecotourism is Costa Rica. They're like the pioneer of ecotourism. They kind of describe ecotourism as like intended to educate the traveler, create environmental awareness, provide funds for ecological conservation, and contribute to economic development of the local communities. So it all sounds really great, right? Like they're bringing in people that want to do ecotourism and stuff. But I was like digging around and I also found this blog post written by a student that was visiting Costa Rica and doing this whole ecotourism thing. And she said that she noticed there are benefits to ecotourism, but it also comes with some costs. Some of the disadvantages that she mentioned: dependence of foreigners for revenue, the dehumanization of locals as local communities are kind of turned into the spectacle for profit. This is just one person's perspective, and I'm sure there's a lot of great benefits to ecotourism, but I thought it was interesting to note because, you know, there might be this surface level marketing from a country like, oh look, like this is all great and we all want to do the right thing, but like the reality might be different. Another popular place for this type of sustainable tourism is Bhutan. They had a $200 per night sustainable development fee for tourists, but they recently reduced it to $100 to attract more visitors. So I feel like those examples kind of show the different policies that can be put into place to kind of bring awareness to the negative effects of tourism and just show that they're trying to offset, maybe not offset, but just trying to make it better. Like they're kind of like, okay, well, tourists are going to come here anyway, what can we do? But it seems like finding that balance is kind of an ongoing process and they haven't fully figured it out. And maybe it's just, that's just the way it is with something like tourism, where we can't do it perfectly, but policies can be put into place, and maybe they put these policies into place and then they find something wrong with it, so they tweak it, and I think that's just the way this is gonna go. I have so much to learn, so much to work on, so much to uncover, and I'm very curious on just like how other people approach this topic. And I have my perspective as someone that was born in Japan and someone that moved here to Hawaii when she was 6 years old, and then this is a huge tourist destination. I'm also rethinking my place here, where I'm not a tourist, but I'm kind of a guest, you know, like I'm not native Hawaiian, I'm Japanese, and I'm taking up space here, and what does that mean? And how can I be more mindful living here and taking up space here too? And starting there, and also uncovering how I can bring those practices and thoughts while traveling to other places. Again, I was scared because it's like I can't get it perfect, right? It just feels like the answer is don't travel, but I do think that if we're gonna travel, maybe we can do it better. And if you have any just thoughts, ideas, perspective, articles, I don't care, any information, just your personal experience, if you're from a tourist destination, what are things that tourists do that piss you off? What are things that you wish we knew about your place? Or what are some things that you've done in the past that you reflected on and you're like, ooh, that wasn't so great? Everything, anything. I want to hear it all. And again, I'm like putting myself out there, and I'm gonna just share what I've been learning and share with you what I think, but feel free to call me out and be like, hey, I don't agree with that, or this is what I think, because that's just what I want to do. I want to have a conversation. I want to learn. I want to hear, different perspectives outside of what I'm learning online on the internet or reading. I think the real experiences from real people is what I'm interested in, and that's kind of what I hope I can do. And we're just gonna have to learn as we go, or that's what I'm doing. Okay, I think my voice is starting to go now. I think I've talked for too long. But thank you for watching. Thank you. Bye.